Today's sponsor, get better treatment on Kamikaze Airlines. We get you there, guaranteed. Alright, here we go. Apologies and retractions. So, last week... Oh no, how did that happen? That's not supposed to be there. Who put that there? Hang on, let me fix that. Much better. Okay, here we go. Alright, apologies and retractions. So, last week, I said that Chuck Schumer's forehead resembled a cantaloupe that had been left out in the sun. That should have been a grapefruit. I used the color orange to refer to President Trump's hair color and famous overall hue. I should have been more specific and said coral, or maybe a slight hint of pumpkin. Speaking of which, I should not have referred to President Trump as the Great Pumpkin. That should have been the greatest, the most stupendous. Listen, I know pumpkins, and no one has been more orange and more delectable. If I were eating dessert that was then me, I would totally eat me, which is what the Democrats should do, eat me. Anyway, the hugest, most amazing pumpkin ever, because no one knows pumpkins like I do, because I'm a friend of the farmer like no one else ever before in the history of agriculture. That's what he says. Authorities arrested a man today suspected of murdering a patch of chives, some basil, some rosemary and thyme. He was charged with herbicide. Figures in the LGBTQ community say that people told to go F themselves and are physically able to do so will soon count as a protected government class. Students face dramatic 20% increase in interest for student loans. I'm glad to see a higher interest in education. Wait, any awareness we can bring is helpful. I just hope more people take an interest in student loans and going to college. Dead air. If this report was for zombies, it'd be undead air. Will you finally crack the mystery and tell us where's Waldo?
If we knew where he was, I wouldn't tell you. I'd go over there myself. No.
Are you going to finally seek an indictment against the Hamburglar?
We don't have him in our custody. That's all I can say right now.
How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
We certainly have some information, but, we need whatever information we can get from the public.
What do you think about the decision to change the name of the lottery from Powerball to Powerballs because they think it sounds sexier?
I think it's a little too early now to really comment on that.
Do you think people who suck at swearing should be incarcerated for crimes against profanity?
I think right now our goal is to get a conviction here.
What do you want to tell Swifties who continually overlook Taylor's knack for printing out pictures of ice cream cones on Apple IIe printers and licking the ink off them instead of eating real ones?
They will be prosecuted, and we will fine them because they are supporting an individual who is committing human rights abuses, and we will not look the other way.
What happened to Nick Jonas after he quit show business and went missing?
Apparently he was a trucker who, although he was from North Carolina, was just picked up in Texas.
On this date in awesome history, October 10th, 1864, Ulysses S. Grant whittled. He did that. That's what he did. In 1925, a gang of greasy, sweaty men gave the Statue of Liberty an amazing hand job. They polished her up real nice. She hadn't shined that bright in decades. 1983, Ronald Reagan remembered his wife's name. I had it here somewhere. 1991. Star Wars was released in theaters. It had been released before. They just released it again. 1825. Andrew Jackson auctioned off his wife's used handkerchiefs. He wanted to wipe his nose on them to up their value, but he blew it. 1875. Ulysses S. Grant, still at it. What can I say? The man loved to whittle. Nothing in particular, just whittle. He was eventually featured in the portrait Whittler's Mother, 1976. Richard Nixon busted for petty shoplifting, meaning he really was a crook. And finally, 1913. Tina Turner's great-grandmother knit a fresh pair of socks from sheep's wool, dyed one green, the other purple, and named the left one Louise. Talent clearly ran in that family. Shutdown talk in Washington is all the rage. It reminds me of 1879, when the first ever recorded government shutdown happened. Nothing happened. They only had maybe 15 people back then, so they just stayed home, slept in a little, and did chores until the wives made them get straight jobs to pay the bills in the meantime. That got them back to work quick. The whole thing happened on account of whether the branding on a mule should count as work-related, and thus the cost charged to taxpayers. or whether it was a personal tattoo acquired on his own time. He was a notorious ne'er-do-well, always hanging out with the wrong crowd, stuck in a life of petty crime and tomfoolery, born on the wrong side of the tracks. He was literally born in a rundown shed behind the tracks where it gets really hot and there's tons of flies and mosquitoes. Anyway, Trump and the Republicans seemed to want this shutdown, and Democrats boxed themselves into it, so then they had to spin it to make it look like his fault. There's your commentary.
Did you get high and sell your soul to the devil for a pack of sugar donuts?
All right, it just kind of ran on its own. With people signing contracts, they didn't know what they were signing. Not anymore.
You're the only person on the planet who's memorized all 470 pages of the Lincoln-Douglas debates by heart and can solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded in faster than a human sneeze. How can you possibly expect anyone else to keep up?
And that is what really motivates a lot of my prosecutors.
You said you don't plan to go after the real OJ killer. Isn't it time to clear his name?
If that's what you want in this district, then I'm the wrong person to be United States Attorney.
Trump still runs a number of hotels that need more bookings. Is he always on your case about it?
The president wants these vacancies filled as soon as possible.
Today on Who Wore It Better, the mustache battle of the century. Adolf versus Tom Selleck. You know, I've got to give the edge to Selleck for girth and sheer robustness, but Adolf's definitely screams less is more. It's short, sharp, and to the point. He's saying, I don't care if you're impressed, I just want to look stylish. But I've got to give the win to Tom on account of Magnum PI and missing out on Indiana Jones. Tough break, but you got to win something, so here you go.